Hello there, my name is Asleon, and today I'm going to tell you how I built my Mauvika. Alrighty, so let's just get right into it. My Mauvika, if I can talk. My Mauvika has 1400 for 14,435 HP, 1,848 attack, 872 defense, 204 EM, 44 over 153 crit damage, 129 ER, and of course 46.6 pyro damage bonus. Now, weapon-wise, I have her on the craftable Natlandian weapon. Yeah, this one was a craftable. I haven't bothered crafting any to enhance it, not yet at least. I feel like this is really good for her because after someone triggers a pyro-related reaction, she applies pyro all the time. The equipping character's elemental skill damage, which is where a lot of, well, depending on how you're playing her. I play her support, so this is really good for her support when she triggers an elemental reaction, or someone triggers a pyro-related elemental reaction. Her elemental skill, which is what's dealing the damage in her support form, it gets an increase of 16% damage for 8 seconds. Its effects can be triggered even when the triggering party member is not on the field, so yeah, this will just trigger plenty. I feel like it's a really good sword for her support self. I don't have it fully leveled yet, but I think it's good. I like the attack percent. Other swords I'd probably put her on, very possibly. Honestly, this might not be the prototype Archaeac, the Earthshaker is what I have her on. The prototype Archaeac probably wouldn't be all that bad for her DPS form. I don't use her as a DPS, so I'm not really looking for a DPS form, but honestly, this one's probably pretty good for a DPS form. Fang of the Mountain King, if it wasn't on Kinich, I would probably have it on her if she was supporting someone who's using Dendro, basically. I don't have much more insight on the sword. You probably want to go with something with attack percent. I don't actually know if ER boosts how much fighting spirit she gets. So ER might be pointless on her, come to think of it. Now that I've thought about it for a few seconds. You think I would have thought about that earlier, but ER is probably pointless on her. So you probably want, for Mauvika, you probably really just want to make sure your sword has a substat of attack percent, and then, like, something that buffs E wouldn't be too bad, because her E does do quite a bit of damage. I don't think EM would be bad either if you built her with EM in mind. That's all I got sword-wise. I don't think ER has an effect on how quickly her ult charges, so frankly, I would avoid putting her on an ER sword. And again, because I have her built support, I have her on whatever the support set's called. Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City. So that's a support Natland set. Now, if you want to build her DPS, you want to put her on Obsidian Codex. I don't believe our main stats really change at all, though. You want her to have an attack percent Goblet, a pyro damage, an attack percent Sands, and a pyro damage Goblet, and a crit rate or crit damage Circlet, with your substats being crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and then I'd probably say EM, because again, I don't think ER does anything. Correct me if I'm wrong, ER may do something, and I just don't know. But I think that's what's best for her. Recommended, they have Obsidian Codex, obviously. And then, of course, attack percentage with crit damage, attack percentage, and EM as the recommended substats, which, again, makes sense. I don't think ER has an effect on her. So I wouldn't put ER. Con-wise, her C1... My brain just stopped. It boosts the amount of Night Soul points she can have by 40, so it goes from 80 to 120. She gains Fighting Spirit, which is what charges her ult 25% faster. It says more efficiently, but I feel like it's easier to understand if it's faster. At least that's my understanding. If you're 25% more efficiently, you're 25% faster. And then, additionally, I think this is brilliant if you're building her DPS. Honestly, it's brilliant if you're building her one way or the other. She will gain an additional 40% attack, 8 for When she gains Fighting Spirit, she will gain a 40% attack bonus for 8 seconds. There we go, I can talk. Now, her C2 is while she's in her Night Blessed state, her base attack is increased by 200. Now, her E, when it's in its behind the ring form, which is what I'm going to be calling her support form, it shreds the nearby opponent's resistance by 20%. And then when she's in her Flame Strider, so when she's on her motorcycle, it gives her normal attack and so it seems like it's going to deal another instance of damage per different attack. So normal attack's going to deal an instance of 60% of her attack as damage. Then charge is going to deal 90% of her attack as damage, and her burst will deal 120% of her attack as damage. At least that's my understanding. Her C3 is just an increase of her alt by 3 levels. Her C4 has one of her passive, and I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce it. I'll probably pronounce it wrong. This passive, actually, you know what? I'm going to go over there so you guys can look at it. This passive says that when for every point of Fighting Spirit present when she uses her alt, the current active party member will deal additional damage. The maximum she can gain is 40. And it lasts 20 seconds, decaying over the duration until it reaches 0. Now, what her C4 does is it stops the decay, and you can get 50% damage bonus opposed to a 40% damage bonus. Her C3 is just the buff to her E, so 3 more levels. Her C6 I find really interesting is that because it basically combines her 2 E forms. So when she's in her support form, I think it's set intervals. So at the same time the ring hits, her Flame Strider will come crashing down from the sky, dealing 200% of her attack as Night Soul Aligned Pyro and AoE Pyro damage. I can talk. On her motorcycle, she will have the ring. She'll do what her C2 allows her ring to do, which is shred nearby opponent's defense by 20%. And every 3 seconds, it will do 500% of her attack as AoE Pyro damage. And then a little additional point is also she becomes way more efficient when exploring because for every 5 points, every 15 seconds, when she loses 5 points, she can gain 80 Night Soul points. So she can just do that longer. It doesn't happen in combat, but it can happen when you are exploring. Talent-wise, I think you're always going to want to level her E first. I think if you're building her as a DPS, you want to go for her base and then alt. Because I don't think... Because her E just enhances her base attack, but her base attack multipliers will still multiply the damage. So, if you're building her support, go E and then burst. The burst will just do some damage. If you're building her DPS, I think you want E base burst, but the burst does also technically give you, I forgot what it was, but it's this Crucible of Death thing, is that she'll give herself buffs. During this time, Mauvika's various actions will all consume Night Soul points, and her interruption resistance will decrease. Also, the damage up by Sunfire Silence and Ancient Name Unbound. Normal charge attacks is increased based on the amount of Fighting Spirit. But I think that's the order I would do it in if I was building her DPS. The recommended order is actually her alt first. I wonder why. I wonder if that's because technically, wait. No, I don't get it. I mean, I guess maybe for the DPS build, it's better to do her ult first? Oh, she gets flame shredder attack bonuses in her ult. I see. I assume it still gets a multiplier off of this one. But that's why, I guess that's why you would prioritize the ult, because it put her in the state, plus it would give a multiple to her um, main form of attack, at least for a DPS. Like I said, for support, I still think her E, her burst, and I don't think you need to use her base at all. Now, a quick side note on how you build Fighting Spirit. I believe it's in her alt information. You're gonna find it right here. So it's right here. So when someone consumes Night Soul points, so if you're using an Atlan character with her, that'll be really good. Or when a normal attack hits an opponent. So she will regen her own when using Night Soul points and when hitting opponents with her base attack. So you do not want to run her with no Natline characters and characters that will use their charge attack, because she won't gain her burst, because she won't be able to get Fighting Spirit. Besides that, I think she can be run pretty much with just about anyone. On that note, let's get into teams. Team-wise, I mostly have just used her in my Kenichi's team. I did have her in Tighnari's team for a while, but then I swapped her out for Shang Ling. And I don't think I have her in any other team that I actively use. She is a good character and pretty strong, and frankly, I think she probably works better as a DPS opposed to a support. I just don't care to use her as a DPS at all. So I have her, again, I have her built support. She's here to support Kinich in, well, his stuff. For her, she will trigger, I think it's like every 2 seconds she'll hit with pyro damage. She does good damage and she has pretty decent pyro application. So you can use that how you want for any team where you want to throw her in as a support. Again, if you want to use her burst, you're going to want people with that use their base attack or that use Knights of Points. So an Atlantean or someone who uses their base attack like Wander. I think Kenichi's count as a base attack, but I don't know if his little shots count as skill or not. Risley uses his base attack all the time. You do not actually want to run her with Tighnari like I was, because she's not going to build up Fighting Spirit. Now, granted, I don't think her building up Fighting Spirit is as important when she is, gosh, my brain just stopped again. When she is supporting, but it is still really good, given the fact that, what was I thinking? That passive of hers will give buffs to the active character's attack depending on how much fighting spirit she had when using her ult. So overall, I think you don't want to run her with people who use their charge attacks opposed to their base attack, because if they're using their normal attack, they're going to help get her some extra points, which will allow her to use her burst. I feel like I've over-explained this. Anyway, honestly, I don't have much team-wise for Mauvika. Mauvika DPS-wise, I would like have her, Bennett. I'm trying to think of who else. I would probably, very possibly, Kazuha, and then like maybe Kaya or Juncho or some character to add an elemental reaction in there with. Either that, or I would just put her on like a mono pyro team and I'd throw another sustainer like Toma on there, or an additional buffer. I don't know why I selected Mauvika for this, but what do we have for pyro supports? I mean, you could always just throw Shingling in there, and then you could have massive amounts of damage. Anyway, let's go have Mauvika, more or less Mauvika. It's still Kanisha's team, so Kanisha's still going to be the DPS. But let's have them go beat up Child. I feel like I over-explained how her ult works while I was doing this, but I don't know.
This opportunity is quite hard to come by. Well, then,
but yeah, depending on how you're using her, I don't even know if I'm using her properly, but I just kind of do it like that, where I use her E, her ult, and then I move on to the rest of the characters.
So quickly, you've made some progress.
I think if you're doing her DPS, you're gonna want. I think you still use her E and then her ult. I don't know if there's a major difference. There does seem to be a slight difference, and there probably is a preferred way to. I think I really held that thing. Use her ult and her E in. I don't have a specific way I use them. I just typically use her E and then I use her ult. I don't know if there's a preferred way to use them. I'm trying to think if it's... Because if it works like Shangling, because if I recall, Shangling's ult is based off of the attack she has at the moment it's activated. So if that's how it works, then you probably want to use her ult first, so it'll trigger her passive, so then she'll have more attack. So I think you want to go ult E. Anyway, that's all for today. That's all I really have on how to build Mauvika. I feel like this episode is long, except, and I don't feel like I've really talked about all that much, but oh well. Hopefully you found it informative. I don't know. Mauvika's not a character I harped too much on when I built her. I just knew I wanted her in. I just wanted Mauvika. I didn't care so much. I knew she'd be a decent support for Kanisha, and that was about it.
Many insects have a compulsion to follow the light.
But I hope how I built mine will help you figure out how you want to build your Mauvika. And maybe I was able to give some good advice. I don't know. I'm not the greatest at this building thing. I'm okay at it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And if you want to see more stuff like this, and this is my how you build stuff. I have like Asleon Talks is what I call it. And that's where I go ahead and I talk about basically whatever I want. Typically, so far I've mostly talked about characters. I did a ship video for Valentine's, and that's about it. But if you want to, I would very much appreciate it if you just subscribe. And that is all for today. May you have a blessed rest of your day or night, whatever time it is for you. But